Alright, guys, so we're going to have a little discussion about Jeffrey Epstein. And what you got to do, guys, is you got to look at the narrative. You got to first and foremost remember what Q told everybody, and that is that you are watching a scripted movie. Everything that you watch that is news, okay, whether it's coming from patriots like you and I, or it's coming from the mainstream, is still part of the narrative. What the patriots do is they take the news and then they broadcast that news to everybody so that everybody can get brought up to date as to what the fake media is telling everybody. And so it's still part of the narrative. The only difference is that the Patriots are attempting to take that news and to give you the truth side of that news. That's the only difference. Okay? But they're still presenting you with the narrative, irregardless. That's what the news is. It's a narrative. When you go back and you look at, for example, JFK Jr.'s death, and you see the situation where he's getting ready to run for Senate, and you've got Hillary Rodham Clinton getting ready to run for Senate, and you understand Hillary's situation, and that anyone that gets in her way and in her path and tries to obstruct her ends up either silenced or dead. And then you look at the whole entire situation in which his plane went down, taking out of it the information concerning the Navy and the military being involved in finding the explosive device on the tail of the airplane and then taking over the airplane, understanding that it was set to a barometric pressure so that you get to a certain altitude, it would activate, and then when you drop below a certain altitude, it would detonate. Taking that out of the picture, what you have is a narrative. Okay, you have no proofs and no evidence of the death of John F. Kennedy Jr. None. You have a fake, fraudulent death certificate, but you have no DNA proof. You have no other evidence whatsoever. You have no body. It was immediately cremated at sea. No way to do DNA testing. It's just purely and utterly a narrative. Now, when you come over to the Jeffrey Epstein situation, you're presented with the exact same thing. They gave us this picture of Jeffrey Epstein being dead and being brought out of the jail cell and taken to the hospital and so forth and so on. But they never provided any kind of proof whatsoever that he ever died. They only gave us a narrative. And the interesting thing about the Jeffrey Epstein narrative is that they presented you with two options: homicide or suicide. And immediately they went with suicide, knowing that eventually information would come out, the topic would be brought back up, and they would switch it over to homicide. What did they leave out of the narrative? The possibility that he never died to start with. Okay, so in the minds of men, all men, women, and children were given two options. Either he committed suicide or he was homicided. He was either murdered or he committed suicide, one of the two. They didn't give the option to the minds of men that possibly he never died to start with, that there was a body swap during the blackout of New York and all the other stuff that was going on during those times. So the point that I'm trying to make here is for those of you that are struggling with the possibility that Jeffrey Epstein may still be alive, what you have to do is you have to hold the media accountable. Okay? The media has given us a narrative. They provided no DNA. They provided no proof. They provided no camera footage. They provided no speech from any of the jailers. No information whatsoever, just a narrative. And that's the only thing that we were given. And so the burden of proof that he died or committed suicide or that he was murdered is on the media. But they won't give you the evidence. They won't give you the proof that he was ever taken out. And so you have a problem. It's not my responsibility to prove that he is alive. It is the media's responsibility to prove their narrative that they gave to the minds of men. Again, you've got to understand that you are dealing with a prison of the mind. They control your mind. They control your thoughts. That's the way the beast system operates. So here is Jeffrey Epstein alive. They just tilted the video, the head picture sideways so that it's laying the same way that he is on the gurney here. And you can see the design of the ears is as such. And the dead Epstein, the body that was presented through the media narrative, has this design. Okay, so you have a totally and completely different ear. And when you look at it, you have like a Y in this ear of the dead supposed Jeffrey Epstein. You have like a Y in the cavity part of the ear here. Whereas here you don't really have a Y, it's just like a D, like the letter D. Okay, completely and utterly different ear on the Jeffrey Epstein that they showed us was the one who committed suicide, and later we find out from the autopsies that he has broken bones in the throat and so forth and so on, that this guy was indeed murdered and not having committed suicide. But again, the only options that they gave the minds of men was homicide or suicide. Now, I cannot in any way, form, or fashion 100% claim that Jeffrey Epstein is in fact alive. The problem that I have is that understanding the Q team and the Q operation, that the military intelligence operation, the psychological operation that's taking place, where military intelligence is being dropped to the American public, as well as a little bit of disinfo, because the deep state cabal, the wicked ones, that's the only way to really to put it, the wicked ones, are out here. Okay, I don't know exactly what I was talking about when I stopped it here a little while ago. But anyways, got the point here is that the narrative out there is homicide or suicide. There is no option that possibly the body was replaced and Jeffrey Epstein is still alive. Oh, that's what I was talking about. Understanding Q and the military intelligence operation that's taking place. They're all about exposing what's really going on the earth. This satanic cult that is earth-wide, that is all over the earth, in all the different governments, in all the different CPSs, in all the different local branches of government, in all of your courts, in all of your CPS people, organizations, I should say, not necessarily the people themselves, because they're compartmentalized to where they don't really know what's going on, but all your CPS, all your sheriff's departments, all of your police departments, and so forth and so on, are infiltrated by the deep state or the CIA or the clowns in America, however you want to look at it. But that's their point, is to expose and to expose and to expose, to ask questions, and to get you to go out and to research based on the question and come to your own conclusion based on the facts that you find. And one of the things that they want is for people to have closure in each of these things. And being that Jeffrey Epstein is such a high-profile player, and being that Jeffrey Epstein is connected to absolutely every single individual involved, and absolutely tied to the epicenter, which is Florida, they know without question that if the deep state is given the opportunity, they will silence and remove Jeffrey Epstein. So there's absolutely no way that the deep state, that the White Hats having arrested Jeffrey Epstein, would have allowed a situation in which the deep state would be able to gain access to him and to take him out. Okay, it makes no logical sense. And one of the things that Q continually teaches us is to think logically about anything, guys. Okay. So Q has constantly taught us to think logically, to use logic in your thinking processes. And there is no logic in that the White Hat operation to arrest Jeffrey Epstein and to begin the process of taking down all of these people who are blackmailed through him. You know, Jeffrey Epstein being a CIA agent, just like all the other ones in the media and in the all areas. Okay, it's all CIA, all of it, and it's all tied to the fake Jews. Jeffrey Epstein is a Jew. Okay, he is one of the fake Jews, but he's still a Jew. Okay, and he is one of the ones that are of the synagogue of Satan, who claims to be Jews but are not Jews. Okay, it's all the same thing. We have the CIA, the Mossad, we got the MI6, All these things are all interconnected. All of it is the wicked one. All of it is the beast system. All of it is the wicked ones. That's what it is. And so it makes no logical sense that the White Hats would have allowed a situation in which the deep state would have gained access to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, what does make sense is that they would have removed Jeffrey Epstein, either putting him in Gitmo or at some other location, and then allowing the mainstream media to do what the mainstream media does, which is create narratives, control a narrative, control the minds of men. And when they did that, when the deep state took that bait and took it, okay, and then proclaimed that he was dead, that he was murdered, and all these kinds of different things, then at that point it opens up the possibility of deep investigations. We have access to his house, we have access to his computers, his everything that he is involved in, we now have access to, because the deep state claims he's dead. So it gives the White Hats access, early access, that they wouldn't have gotten for many, many, many months, even perhaps years to come. So everything worked out perfectly by allowing the narrative to go forward through the media that he committed suicide, and now that narrative is changing to that he committed that somebody homicided him, that somebody somewhere murdered him. But again, it's very important to understand that they never gave you the option that he was never dead to start with. Okay? That was completely removed from the mind. The prison was either he was homicided or suicided, because they knew that even though they're going to claim he suicided, that eventually it would come back to the surface, and then they would be able to shift it to homicided. And then an investigation would get going there, but ultimately we would find out that he never died to start with. So I'm not saying that 100% that Jeffrey Epstein is not dead, okay? But when you use logic, and when you use the simple fact that the narrative has provided no proof, no evidence of death, okay? They're providing proof of suicide. Then they did provide proof of suicide. Now they're beginning to provide proof of homicide or murder. But still, at this point, the entrapment, the prison of the mind, is that there is no option that he never died to start with. Same thing that they did with John F. Kennedy Jr. and that whole narrative. And we know that the JFK Jr. narrative was a white hat operation in order to keep the deep state in the dark. The deep state, look, they're never going to understand what's happening. They're never going to understand it. Your scriptures, which is the truth, the word, which is the truth, not religion, the word itself is the truth. And the word tells you that these people will do wickedly, and they will not understand. They can't understand. Why? Because they are in darkness. Remember, it is a battle between good versus evil, light versus darkness. They are in darkness. Okay? When you read your scriptures, and let me just quickly give you the whole story of the Bible. So God forms man, he creates the heaven and the earth, okay? And then he forms man, and man is a created being. He forms him out of the dust of the earth, and he breathes the breath of life into the nostrils, and he becomes a living soul. He is a creation of man. That's what Adam and Eve are. Just like the angels are a creation of God. Just like the cherubim are a creation of God. Just like all of it is a creation of God. That's what we're dealing with. So time goes down, and you got the Tower of Babel. He confounds the languages, and then eventually we come up to the flood, and then he wipes out all of the DNA manipulations, all of the monsters, all of the creations of man, and do genetic manipulation, and all the hybrids and all the different things that were existing at the time that had corrupted all flesh, and we end up starting again with Noah and then his 3 sons and their wives, and then we move down through time, and we eventually get to the formation or the creation of Israel. And God literally marries Israel. I will be your God, you will be my people, you keep these covenant, you keep my covenant, you keep my law, you keep my Torah, which is the instructions, then you will continue to have protection, you will continue to have prosperity, you will continue to have your liberty, you will continue to have your freedom, you will continue, because you will be blessed. because you're walking in love. When you fulfill the Torah, that is, that you love the Lord thy God with all thy mind, heart, and soul, and you love thy neighbor as thyself, that's the fulfillment of the Torah. If you love your neighbor, you're not going to murder your neighbor. If you love your neighbor, you're not going to covet the things of your neighbor. If you love your neighbor, you're not going to commit adultery with your neighbor. If you love your neighbor, you're not going to bear false witness against your neighbor. Love is the fulfillment of the law, and what Jesus did in the flesh was to show you as the living child of God, the only living child of God, literally conceived in the womb of a woman by the Spirit of God, miraculous conception. Literally a child of the living God. Literally the only one. Okay? Born of God. Not like Adam. Adam was a creation of God. Okay? But he came to show you how to live in the spirit of the law, in the spirit of the Torah, in the spirit of the instructions. And he fulfilled the law in that he operated in love all the way to the point of laying down his life for all of us. Okay, the Torah is critical, and what we are dealing with is lawlessness. But let's continue with the story of the Bible. So he creates Israel, marries Israel. As long as they keep the covenant, as long as they walk in the Torah, operate in love toward their God and toward one another, then they will be protected, they will have prosperity, they will have abundance, they will have liberty, they will have freedom, they won't have any enemies, so forth and so on. But, on the other hand, if they decide to walk away from the Torah and to follow pagan gods and pagan instructions and pagan laws and pagan statutes and codes and regulations and so forth and so on, and allow those things to reign and to rule rather than the love of God, then at that point they lose everything, and they will be taken captive, they will be taken over, and they will be consumed. But they will not ultimately perish, because he will always come back for his beloved wife. Eventually, he divorces Israel. Now, here's the interesting thing. According to the law, if a man and a woman get divorced, neither the man nor the woman can remarry. Unless, of course, one of the two dies. If the woman dies, then the man can remarry. If the man dies, then the woman can remarry. That's the law, that's the Torah, that's the operation of instruction of love. And so what happens is that you had God who divorced Israel. Okay, they broke away from the covenant. They chased after pagan gods and pagan instruction and laws, and went their way. And so literally God divorced Israel. Then God is born in the flesh, in Jesus Christ, in the womb of Mary, comes into the earth, and he what? Dies. This then took the wife, Israel, and gave her the freedom to remarry. And what we find out is that when you go through time, the lost tribes of Israel figure out who they are. They literally, the Bible tells us that they awaken. Okay, that's why we, on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, we always talk about wake up, guys, wake up, wake up, wake up. Right? Why? Because literally that's what's going to happen, is that the Israelites, which are scattered into where? The four corners of the earth, the four winds of the earth, into every nation, tongue, and people, will wake up, and then they will, they, being the bride, they will come to their Lord, and they will re-enter the marriage. And so what you have is the Bible. When you take out the division that man created, which is the Old and the New Testament, again, that's what they want. They want you divided by race. They want you divided by color. They want you divided by political stance. They want you divided by religion. They want you divided by the Bible itself. Okay? They have people out here arguing, saying that the 66 books, the number 66 books of the Bible is all of the Bible. There's no other books. That's the way it is. It's the inspired word of God, blah, blah, blah. Okay? When in reality, you go into the 1800s and look at the Bibles, they all have the Apocrypha, all of them in the 1800s. Now today we don't have the Apocrypha. And today we say the Apocrypha is extra biblical. It doesn't belong in the Bible. Well, why did the deep state remove it from the Bible to start with? Okay, you need to go find out what are in those books, and you need to decide for yourself whether those books belong in the Bible or not. That is your right, and it is in fact your responsibility to do so. Okay, truth is up to you. Working out your salvation is in your hands, no other person's. It's not in your mother's, it's not in your father's hands, it's in your hands. It's not in your children's hands, it's in your hands. You are responsible before God whether you know the truth or don't know the truth, whether you've done the research or you just believe what people told you. Okay, but anyway, getting back to the story of the Bible, it you what you okay, so the story of the Bible, guys, is simple. God creates Israel, loves Israel, cherishes Israel, blesses Israel, takes out the giants, takes out the hybrids, takes them all out on their behalf. And eventually, Israel walks away from the law. God divorces Israel. Then God shows up in the flesh to die, to perish, to set her free from the law of marriage, the marriage contract law of Scripture. Now that she's free to remarry. And guess who she's going to remarry? The Lord, Jesus, God. And so you have an amazing love story that takes place. He divorced her in order to remarry her. And now it's not just the Jews, not just the Hebrews, which are the 10 tribes, and not just the Jews, which is Judah and Benjamin, the other 2 tribes, but the 10, actually it's 11 tribes, because you got Ephraim and Manasseh, not just Joseph. You got Joseph became Ephraim and Manasseh, so you've got 13 tribes. So you've really got 11 lost tribes and 2 that are not lost that are over in the state of Israel. Okay? But that is a state of Israel. Just like you have the state of Texas. What is the state of Texas? It is a corporation, a fiction, and it is part of the deep state operation to control and to manipulate. There's Texas, which is what I live on, and then there's the state of Texas, which is the corporation and a federal a false federal government, basically, is the best way to put it. Okay, same thing over there in the state of Israel. Okay, it's just fake. Israel is in the west, and Israel is in its new promised land, just as the scriptures promised. But what happens is that eventually Israel will literally awaken, and then they'll begin to learn the truth, and they will return back to the Torah, back to the law, back to the instruction, and then they will become the light unto all the nations, peoples, tongues, and so forth and so on, as they remarry the Lord their God, and the kingdoms of the earth become the kingdoms of our Lord and Savior. And the bride is without spot or blemish, because they are keeping the commandments of God, and they have the testimony of Jesus Christ, not religion. They have the truth, not religion. We are to worship the Lord our God. We're to worship God in spirit and in truth. And that's what we're beginning to see, as people waking up to the truth and beginning to come out of Babylon. You've got to come out of her. Her plagues are descending upon her. And if you're going to be a part of her, you're going to participate in her plagues. You must come out of her. You have to, out of Babylon. You've got to. At some point, as you awaken, you've got to come out. You've got to stop participating. Okay? Now, what's going to happen, guys, is that you're going, as time moves forward. Now, understand, guys, it looks like, to me, that there will be no indictments in 2019. We got over here post 3587, posted on 11 November 2019, indictments coming 2019 Q, and you notice that it's in kill brackets. Now, anything in a box, anything put into a box in a legal document does not exist. So indictments coming not in 2019, because 2019, whatever's in the box does not exist. Okay, indictments are coming, but it looks like it's going to be 2020 before we see these indictments start to come to pass. So the rest of this year, we're going to be working on this criminal investigation that Durham's got going on, finishing it up, and then the indictments are going to begin to become unsealed in 2020. Now, I could be in error, and he may not be stating that at all, but he did put it in a kill box, and anything put inside of a kill box does not exist. That's why No Name or John McStain or McCain, that's why he was put into a kill box. Why? Because he doesn't exist. Okay? When you put it in the kill box, it does not exist. It's not there. So what this is saying is the indictment's coming not in 2019. They're not going to come till 2020 Q. Now, again, I could be in error. But that's my understanding of what that post is. Now, there's other posts here, and I'm not going to go over it, guys, because I'm not comfortable enough to go over them right now. I just can't sit that long. I apologize. What I wanted to do was to explain to those of you that are out here asking me, what makes you think Jeffrey Epstein never died to start with? That's what makes it's not about what I think. It's about the fact that the narrative has never, to this day, to this moment, provided any proof whatsoever in any way, in any form, or any fashion that he ever died. Okay? And that responsibility, the burden of proof, is on the one who created the narrative. That is the media, the deep state, the CIA, the clowns in America, whatever you want to call them. The wicked ones is what they are. Okay? It's not just the CIA, Mossad, MI, it's all of these fake, fraudulent Jews that call themselves Jews and yet are not Jews. Okay? That's who it is. That's what your scriptures tell you. It's Esau. Esau is your problem. Esau. And we're going to get into that. Because you remember, you had Abraham, Isaac. And Isaac gave birth to Jacob. Jacob becomes Israel. But he also gave birth to Esau. And Jacob ends up with the birthright because Esau's hungry. You remember? That's the story. Now, Esau loses the birthright. But Esau is still promised, still becomes a people and has a grudge against his brother Israel. Or Jacob, who becomes Israel, who become the 12 tribes. So we're not going to get into all that, guys, because I'm not comfortable enough. I just wanted to help you to understand where I'm coming from when I say that Jeffrey Epstein is not dead. Okay? We're dealing with the narrative that we were in the prison of the mind. We were given two options: either he committed suicide or he was homicided. He was murdered. Okay? The prison kept out the option that he never died to start with. And the narrative, and in this prison of our mind, they never gave us any proof or evidence whatsoever that he ever died. None. Zero. Zilch. Not a one. They gave us a picture, but no picture, but it's a picture that has nothing to do with the actual Jeffrey Epstein. So that's where I'm coming from. That's what I just want you guys to understand. You know, this is where I'm coming from. I'm not saying that I'm 100% sure that he is not dead, that he never died, okay? But I am about 90% sure of it, okay? There's no evidence at all. Just like with John F. Kennedy Jr., there is zero evidence that he ever died. No proof whatsoever. The one thing that they had going for themselves with the JFK Jr. death, plane wreck, whatever you want to call it, the one thing that they had is that they did at least have a death certificate. Okay, we don't even have that with Jeffrey Epstein. We've never had a funeral. We've never had anything. Okay, but at least with John F. Kennedy Jr., they gave us a death certificate, which has been proven without a question, without a shadow of a doubt, to be fake and fraudulent. Okay, but at least they gave us that with John F. Kennedy Jr. At least they attempted to make it look real. But with Jeffrey Epstein, that's not the case at all. Jeffrey Epstein will be back in the news. Jeffrey Epstein is tied to absolutely everything. And when Jeffrey Epstein finally gets brought into the brightness of the day of light, then also you're going to have Florida down there come into the day of light. You know, look. If Jeffrey Epstein is brought to light, Florida's brought to light. If the Finders are brought to light, Florida's brought to light. If NXIVM is brought to light, Florida's brought to light. If Disney is brought to light, Florida's brought to light. If anything is brought to complete and utter light, Florida becomes exposed. And that begins the process of going down through all the different nation states of the United States. And then out unto all the earth, into all the nations of the earth. So that's where we're at, guys. That's what we're dealing with, and I hope this has helped you to understand where I'm coming from and why you got to learn to use discernment in these times of lies and deceptions. You are not told truths by anybody. Only the word is truth. So if you're listening to a YouTuber that's presenting to you the news to you and giving you their perspective, they're trying to shed light onto what the news is lying to you about, but they're not providing the word, and the word is where the truth is. Okay? If you're going to get truth, you have to get into the word. You have to. To understand what's happening today, you got to go back to the word, which has held true from the beginning of time to this day, having told the end from the beginning, and all throughout the entirety of the scriptures has told you the truth. Okay? So the Bible, they divided the Bible between a New and Old Testament to create a division. Now the Christians, they tend to pretty much stay away from the Old Testament. Judaism is all about the Old Testament, and Christians is all about the New Testament, and there's this division. There is no division. It's one solid book. One complete story of God creating, bringing Abraham up through Isaac, and then to Jacob, and then into the 12 tribes, and then marrying those Israel, and working with Israel to take out the wicked ones on the earth. But Israel eventually goes by the wayside and follows the pagan gods, just like we did here in America in New Israel. And what happened? They were taken captive, just like we were taken captive by an unseen, hidden force that controls the minds of men and is murdering children, sacrificing, harvesting organs, and doing all sorts of unimaginable wicked things, and we don't have a clue about it. Why? Because we were asleep, because we were taken over, because we left the Torah, we removed the Ten Commandments, we removed God from the schools, we moved him, we removed the law, we became a lawless nation, lawlessness, and we still are to this day. And until the people wake up and the people go back to operating these offices, whether it's as a congressman or a senator or a president, as long as you have the deep state occupying these seats, they are in control. At what point are you going to start running for office? You understand that when this is all said and done, when 2020 comes along and these indictments begin to get unsealed, remember, all this has to time out perfect for the election. So you don't want the indictments to get unsealed too early, too soon. It's all got to play out to where there's no Democrats left come election. But what also is going to happen is a huge, massive amount of the Republican Party is also going to be removed from office because they are part of the deep state. It's not a Democratic Party problem. It is a good versus evil problem. And they are on both sides of the division that they created called the Republican and Democratic Party. Neither one of those exist in our republic. There is no Democratic Party or Republican Party. It's all a lie. It's all a deception. It's all part of a movie. It's all part of the minds and beliefs that you have in your mind. It has nothing to do with reality. So guys, I hope this has helped you out. It's the best I can do for today. I'll try to get another video, maybe 2 videos out before the 19th. On the 19th, Karsten will be coming into the world. And so I'm going to do everything I can to be at that, at his birth. I'm going to be there at the hospital to bring him into the earth and to welcome him into the righteous earth, because that's where we're headed. We're going into righteousness, and you guys need to consider preparing to take office. We, the people, are the ones that are supposed to be in position. See, we are sovereign, and we create the government, and that which you create, you control. Speaking of that, let me show you something real quickly. We were told on the field report to go watch David Straight Arkansas class, all 3 of them, part 1, part 2, and part 3. You're going to have to sit down for 10 hours to watch all of it. And I went and I watched all 10 hours worth because I needed to know whether or not I should pass this information on to you guys. And the fact of the matter is, everyone on the earth needs to watch these 10 hours worth of videos. So I'll put a link to all 3 sections of David Straight giving his talk. This guy really knows what's going on, guys. And he's got very important information. Of course, they're going to do a commercial. Hold on.
Let's walk through it.
So that's David Straight right there. And he's at a church giving this speech. And you guys, everyone that watches my channel, every subscriber needs to go and watch all 10 hours of this video. What he says is true and accurate. Okay? I know because I've got 15 years researching this. I know what he says is the truth. The problem people have is we don't know the law. We know legalese to some extent. Some people really know legalese, but we don't know law. We don't know the law. We don't know lawfulness. We don't know law. We are a lawlessness, a Torahlessness people. Okay? Because we were sound asleep and the enemy was controlling us before God began to shake and to wake each and every one of us up. So what he will teach you is important. Everything from getting land patent allodial titles to understanding the bar, understanding that the court systems are foreign courts acting upon we the people. All of it is exposed in these 10 hours. Very, very important set of videos. So go watch them as soon as you get the opportunity. Get out of the news. Get out of the people, YouTubers that are giving you the news. Get out of it. Get the law. The law is everything, guys. And what did Trump say? The people have to do something. It's not up to Trump. It's not up to Jim Jordan. It's not up to anybody but you, the sovereign, that created government. That which you create, you control. But what we've done is we let the deep state, the wicked ones, take positions all over the offices that we created lawfully, and now they have taken and made statutes, codes, regulations, and all these other various different things, which is legalese, and has subverted the lawfulness of our nation to do their will. That's what's happened. And they will all be removed, and as it is right now, as this guy will completely plainly tell you, Congress is sin die, period. End of conversation. There are not enough representatives in Congress for the amount of people in each of the states. Therefore, they're out of office. They don't have any control. Any law that they've made, anything that they've done is all fraud. All of it. Every bit of it. In Obama's generation, presidency, in Bush's, in Clinton's, we didn't have enough representatives. They've been sin die the whole time. Okay, this is reality, guys. That's what you... Hang on. The point of the matter, guys, is that everything has been an illusion. You've never been told a single truth in your life. Not ever. And it is we the people, the sovereigns, that have to take back the offices and bring back lawfulness and bring back the republic. Trump said, I have given power back to you, we the people. What are you doing with it? Are you just sitting out here doing nothing? Are you at least on Twitter tweeting about all the different things and exposing the works of darkness? Are you considering running for Senate or running for Congress or running for some position in your state or on the federal level? What are you doing? Okay? There's fixing to be a massive void when these people are taken down. So consider coming out of your sovereignty and becoming a citizen for a moment. That is to serve the people. The citizens are employees of the corporation that we call government. Okay, so you're a sovereign over the creation that you created, which is the government. But when you step into an emolument of the government that we created, you become the servant of the people, of we the people, and you become a citizen. At that point, you cannot possibly be a sovereign citizen. That's an oxymoron. They're complete opposites. You're either sovereign or you're a citizen. So you're a sovereign, but if you take on an emolument, a position of office in the Republican government, which are all empty, there's two of everything, as this gentleman here, David Straight, will tell you, there's two of everything. There's Texas, and then there's the state of Texas. There's the United States of America, then there's the United States Corporation, and so forth and so on. There's two of everything. The de jure government, the Republican form of government, is sitting empty. There's a lot to learn, guys. But it's all about the law. All law, the supreme law of the land is the Constitution, but the law that is supreme to the supreme law is the Bible. If you remove the Bible, you remove all your rights. You remove it all. Because your rights come from your Creator. The foundation of law is the Bible. So if you reject the Bible altogether, you reject your rights. You reject your rights. You no longer have any rights because they come from you and they're endowed to you by your Creator. So guys, I'm going to go ahead and end this here. I love you guys. Get in the Word. Hang on. Get in the Word. Stay in the Word. And get the Word in you. I try my best to say it in every single one of my videos. Thy Word is truth. If you don't get in the Word, you're never, ever going to get to the truth. It's that simple. It's that simple. You can sit out here and watch the scripted movie and all the YouTubers giving you the news all day long, but you're not going to get anywhere. You got to get to the truth, and the truth is found in the Word. The Word exposes everything that's going on today. The selling of souls and organs and all the stuff that's going on is right there in your scriptures. Baal worship to this day. But it's coming to an end. It's all coming to an end. What an amazing time. Amazing time to be alive. Remember, other than the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, the two most important things, guys, what are they? Love first and truth. If you're operating in love, you're automatically speaking truth. It's that simple. Okay? So love and truth, and after that, peace, being the reward, and justice for anyone that wants to do wickedly. Love you guys. I'll talk with you later.